Welcome to Licensed to Succeed. My name is Olatunji Sobodu. I'm your host on Licensed to Succeed. Our focus is on God's will for success and God's way to achieve it. God's will for success, for your success, and God's way to achieving it. And as we say, the way you achieve success is as important, if not more important, than your claim to success itself. And today, I'm going to be speaking to you on what I have, titled Made for Purpose. Made for Purpose. Now, the idea here is that you and I are made for purpose. You and I are made for purpose. And why am I speaking on this subject today? It's because in the quest to succeed, in the pursuit of success, you and I can make life a lot easier if we are mindful of this truth that we are made for purpose. We are made for purpose. Now, if you know what a product is made for, then of course, abuse can be avoided. All right. If you take a piece, of a pressing iron. Now, if you don't know that the gadget or that item is an iron, the chances are that you're going to be seeking to use it for some other purpose. All right. And in that process, you would abuse, that product. And that product, not only is it that it would not serve its purpose, but you'll be trying to force it to accomplish a different purpose. And you can just imagine how difficult that will be, how harrowing it will be, how risky it might even be. And that's what I want to call your attention to today. All right. Now, when you look at Genesis 1:28, since we look at success according to the will of God and the purpose, and the and the and the way of God, then let's look at what the Bible says in Genesis 1 and verse 28. It says, and God blessed them. All right. And then said to them, be fruitful. All right. So what were they created for? They were created for something. All right. To be fruitful, to multiply, and all of that. That was why God created them. That was what God wanted you and I to go ahead and achieve. That's the mandate that we're given. That's what we're supposed to be pursuing. All right. Fruitfulness in some area or the other. But you would notice that before God even talked about the purpose at all, he created them. And having created them, he wired them, or if you like, he loaded them, all right, with all that they were going to need to accomplish the purpose. All right. Yes, he had the purpose in mind, but he created them. Okay. And he loaded them. He blessed them. Now, you and I will do ourselves a great disfavor if we don't take note first of who we are, all right, in our quest for success. Because who we are is what really matters. Who we are is the beginning and the end of it all. Who we are, all right, shows what we have been loaded with. And when we know who we are, just like you know the iron, then you know all right, what your purpose is. You know what you are expected to do. If you are, the kind of person who, loves to talk, loves to teach, loves to, you know, uh, uh, um, see people grow in knowledge, okay, and you get excited with it, you do it effortlessly, all right, and people want to describe you, they cannot but describe you with, those attributes, okay, that is a pointer to what you are called to do. All right. You should be seeking to play a role along those lines of training, of development, of teaching, and the like. Generally, helping people to develop themselves. You're probably not called to go into manufacturing. All right. You may not be called to go into tech in the sense of writing programs and what have you, because you are wired differently. You are a different person. Okay. So you can see that purpose is not as important as who you are. As who you are. Let me read something very instructive to you from Jeremiah 1 and verse 5. And I will read the modern English version so that you can relate to it. This was what God said about the prophet. All right. He said, "Before I formed you in the womb, I knew you. And before you were born, I sanctified you." Or if you like, I set you apart. For what? "And I ordained you a prophet to the nations." Before he was formed in the womb, before he was born, God had decided who he is. All right. So every other thing was going to flow from who he is. God had a purpose in mind and created you and I to suit that purpose. So you see, we are made for purpose. But the interesting aspect of that is this: we don't go seeking what purpose, all right, we are made for primarily. Instead, we focus on ourselves and go trying on seeking an understanding of who we are, because in who we are is the discovery of our purpose. In who we are is the discovery of our purpose. It is not purpose before who we are. It is who we are before purpose. Or put differently, it is who we are as a signpost to our purpose. I listen, to a very popular premise out there, that people say, find out your why, find out your why, start with your why, start with your why. Oh, well, only God started with why. And he started with why because so that he could create you to suit that purpose. He could make life easy for you. But you, now that you exist, don't need to start with why. You start with who. You start with who. Why? Because your who was created to serve a why. In your who, in who you are, in your discovery of who you are, which includes everything that you have been wired and blessed with, is a pointer to your purpose. In John 15 and verse 16, Jesus said, "You didn't call me, but I called you And I ordained you to go and bring fruit and lasting fruit. All right? You didn't call me. I called you. I called you because I knew you. I called you because I created who you are. And I did that because of the purpose. So I had purpose in mind when I created you. Now that you have been called, discover who you are so that you know what purpose you have been made for. And when you stay on the path of your purpose, there is no better way to excel, to succeed, and to be fulfilled. I would refer you to Judges chapter 9, where the fig tree, the grape, and the olive trees were offered the opportunity to be leaders. All right, the community reached out to them, come and lead us, they said to the fig tree. And the fig tree, interestingly, refused what looked like, something that nobody in his right mind will turn down. But the fig tree turned it down. And why did the fig tree turn it down? He said, wait, you want me to leave who I am, all right, to become something else. You want to abuse, all right, me, my personality. You want to use me to serve a purpose that is contrary to what I was created for. He said, no, I understand who I am too much to fall, into that trap. Said, I know who I am. All right. I produce sweetness. And you want me to leave all of that and come and lead? No, I won't do that. I'm sorry. And then what about, the grape? The grape also declined. I know who I am. I know what people love to see in me. All right. I'm the source of wine. The wine that nobles take, that gives them excitement. I know who I am, and I know what purpose I'm supposed to serve as a result of who I am. And I'm not going to fall for the trap of abusing me and my purpose. And the same thing to the olive tree. You and I know what, the beauty, the value of olive oil. He said, don't derail my purpose. That's very instructive. Each of them were able to stand their ground, to stay on their lane, because they knew exactly who they were. They knew that they were uniquely made, fearfully, wonderfully made for purpose. So what am I saying? It begins with you. It begins with knowing who you are and what you are endowed with. That's where it begins. When you have a good understanding of that, you won't struggle with what your purpose is. You won't get into things that you are not wired for. And therefore, you will get into things that you have been prepared for, ordained to accomplish. And when you are walking on your lane, when you have stayed on your path, the journey will be a lot easier. It's not that there won't be challenges. Even Jesus had to face obstacles. He knew who he was, and he wanted people to focus on who he was, not on what he did. All right? Because he knew that he was made for purpose. And he didn't allow anyone to get him involved in what he wasn't made for. So yes, there were obstacles on his way. Yes, there were challenges he had to overcome, but he did overcome them and he succeeded in his journey. If he had not stayed on his lane, it would have been far more difficult and he may not have succeeded, in that journey. And that's what I'm saying to you. That's the counsel I'm bringing to you. We're looking too much externally and we're failing to pay attention to ourselves internally. As we would say, what we're looking for, all right, in Shokoto is right here in our Shokoto, the pockets of our trousers. Well, we need to start looking inwards. Start paying attention to who we are. Start paying attention to how we are wired. Start taking cognizance of the blessing with which we have been blessed. Because when you know a seed, the type of seed that you are holding, no one should tell you the purpose of the seed and what the seed is expected, to produce. No one should tell you, all right, what to do in order to ensure that that seed fulfills purpose. Once the identity of the seed is known, life becomes a lot easier. Harvest, exploiting the full potential of the seed, becomes something we can approach with great confidence. All right? And so I want to say to you today, make no mistake, you are made for purpose. Invest in discovering yourself. When you truly discover who you are, you will discover what your purpose is. And you won't be seeking to pursue other things just because others are doing them. Rather, you will be able to focus on what you have been made for. And when you do that, your chances of succeeding in that area will be great. The odds of success will be wonderful. And you will save yourself needless headaches just trying to go with the Joneses, as they say. And that's my word for today. On License to Succeed is our first edition this week. You want to join me again on Friday, which would be our second edition. Be reminded, today we have been speaking on the topic made for purpose. Made for purpose. You are made for purpose. I am made for purpose. We need to start looking inwards to discover who we are, so that as a signpost to the purpose for which we have been created. John 15:16, Jeremiah 1 verse 5, all of those things are important. All right. I hope you have picked up, something valuable today. It's still all about how to succeed. It's about God's way of succeeding. And subscribe to the channel. Tell others about it. This is one place that you want to be hooked up to. Twice a week, get consistently infused, all right, with the wisdom that is required to put success in your hands. God bless you. Enjoy a wonderful and productive week. And remember, seek to always do it God's way and according to God's will. God bless you. Thank you for joining me today. Bye-bye.